Emma had always believed in love at first sight, and when she met Alex in a small, cozy Boston coffee shop on a rainy afternoon, it felt like her heart had finally found its rhythm. There was something magnetic about the way he smiled, the way he laughed at her jokes, and the way their conversation flowed effortlessly as if they had known each other for years. Within days, they started spending almost all their time together, walking through quiet streets, sharing stories over warm cups of coffee, and laughing at little things that seemed meaningless to anyone else but brought them closer. Their connection was intense but comforting, the kind of bond that made the world feel softer and life feel easier. Emma moved into Alex's apartment after just a few months, drawn by the sense of belonging and the dream of building a life together. She imagined long nights cooking together, lazy mornings wrapped in each other's arms, and weekends exploring new places, capturing moments with their phones, and creating memories that would last forever. At first, everything felt perfect, as though they had stepped into a storybook romance. Alex was attentive, always remembering the little details, her favorite flowers, the songs she hummed, the way she liked her tea. Emma felt cherished, special, and undeniably loved. But beneath the surface of this seemingly flawless life, there were subtle signs she chose to ignore. Late nights at work that seemed too frequent, brief messages that he quickly hid when she approached, the occasional distracted look when he thought she wasn't paying attention. She told herself it was normal, that every relationship had its minor complications, that trust was part of love, and perhaps she was being overly sensitive. Yet a seed of doubt had been planted. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma had gone to the kitchen for a glass of water and noticed Alex's phone buzzing on the counter. She hesitated, her fingers trembling, but curiosity got the better of her. A quick glance at the screen revealed a string of messages from another woman. They weren't explicit, but the flirtation was clear, a familiarity and playful intimacy that Alex hadn't shown with her. Her chest tightened, a sharp pain spreading through her body, and the room seemed colder than it had moments before. She didn't want to believe it, tried to rationalize it, telling herself it could be innocent, just friendly banter, but deep down she knew it wasn't. When she confronted Alex gently the next day, asking for an explanation, he brushed it off with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, claiming it was harmless and nothing to worry about. Emma felt the first real crack in her perfect world. That night, lying awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, she realized that trust was fragile and that love could be more complicated than she had ever imagined. The laughter, the warmth, the connection they shared suddenly felt layered with uncertainty, and she wondered whether the dreams she had built in her mind could survive the quiet betrayal she had just discovered. She loved Alex deeply, but the tiny fissures she had ignored now seemed impossible to overlook. Sleep evaded her as she replayed every interaction, every smile, every whispered joke, wondering if she had missed signs, if she had been naive, and if her heart was strong enough to face what might come next. The rain tapped gently against the window, a soft, rhythmic reminder that life could change in an instant, and Emma understood that love wasn't always the comforting, simple force she had imagined. It could hurt, it could betray, and it could force difficult choices she wasn't yet ready to make. That night marked the end of innocence in her relationship with Alex and the beginning of a journey where she would have to confront heartbreak, question her trust, and discover the strength she never knew she had, all while clinging to the hope that love, even tested by pain, could still endure. Weeks passed after Emma's discovery, but the unease inside her only grew stronger, gnawing at the edges of her heart and shadowing every moment they spent together. At first, she tried to ignore the discomfort, telling herself that love required patience and that Alex's careless words or secretive messages might just be minor mistakes. Yet, the signs became harder to dismiss. He would leave the room abruptly when his phone rang, glance at it with nervous quickness, and avoid her eyes when certain topics came up. Even the small gestures that once felt comforting, the way he held her hand, the warmth of his smile, now carried a weight of doubt, as if behind the affection there was something unspoken. Emma felt like a spectator in her own life, watching the man she loved from a distance, wondering if the connection they shared was still real. One weekend, hoping to clear her mind, she decided to visit a friend in Cambridge, telling herself it was just a short break from the tension that had settled over their home. She wandered through the streets, trying to focus on the cool air and the chatter of passers-by, but her thoughts kept returning to Alex. Then, across a quiet street, she saw him. He was sitting in a small cafe, talking to the same woman whose messages she had seen weeks before. He laughed in a way she had never witnessed with her, leaned closer to her in familiarity, and gestured with ease and warmth that once had belonged to their shared moments. Emma froze, her chest tightening, her stomach twisting with a mix of shock, hurt, and disbelief. She didn't want to look, yet she couldn't look away. She realized in that instant that some of the love she had taken for granted had been shared elsewhere, and the feeling of witnessing it firsthand cut sharper than any words could. She wanted to run, to confront, to demand answers, but another part of her simply wanted to disappear, to shield herself from seeing more of the love she thought was hers being given to someone else. The sight of him laughing, smiling, and engaging with that woman as if the world belonged to them alone left her reeling. She stayed long enough to take in the scene, feeling both grief and a strange sense of clarity. She understood now that Alex's heart had wandered, even if briefly, and that she had been blind to the cracks that had formed in their relationship. That night, she returned home, trying to act normal, trying to keep her composure as Alex greeted her with the same warmth he had always shown. They talked, ate dinner, and laughed softly, but Emma's mind was elsewhere, replaying the image of him with that other woman. She felt the weight of unspoken truths pressing against her chest, the quiet ache of betrayal growing heavier with each passing hour. Emma realized that love could be cruel, that witnessing the reality of someone's choices could hurt more than any confrontation or argument. She had always believed that honesty and communication were the pillars of a relationship, but now she saw that even those pillars could tremble when trust was compromised. Her heart ached not only for what Alex had done, but also for the loss of innocence in their love, the disappearance of the unshakable certainty she had once felt. In the quiet of the night, as she lay in bed beside him, pretending everything was fine, Emma understood that she had crossed into a new reality, one where love was tested not only by actions, but by choices, by the moments that revealed the hidden sides of people we think we know. She felt the sting of heartbreak, the bitter taste of jealousy and sorrow, and yet, buried under all of it, a small flicker of determination remained, to see if this love could survive, to understand if Alex could learn from his mistakes, and to discover whether her heart could endure the pain long enough to witness change. The following days were heavy with tension. Every smile, every touch, every casual conversation carried a new weight. Emma found herself analyzing every gesture, trying to find the truth behind the words, struggling to reconcile the man she loved with the man she had seen with someone else. Her emotions swung like a pendulum between anger, sadness, and a reluctant hope that perhaps Alex would come to understand the hurt he had caused. She realized that love was no longer simple. It was a complex tapestry woven with trust, betrayal, forgiveness, and understanding. And even though it hurt her deeply to witness his actions, Emma felt that this moment, painful and unavoidable, might be the turning point for both of them, a test that could either destroy their bond or force Alex to confront his mistakes and grow. Each day, she watched him closely, silently hoping that the warmth he had shown her could be restored, hoping that his heart could find its way back to honesty and care. And in the quiet moments when he was unaware, she allowed herself to feel the sorrow, the longing, and the heartbreak, knowing that sometimes enduring the pain of witnessing another's choices was the only way to truly understand the depth of love, the cost of betrayal, and the possibility of redemption. By the end of the week, Emma had made a decision. She would not leave in anger, nor would she ignore what had happened. Instead, she would wait, watch, and hope that the lessons of hurt would awaken a change in Alex that nothing else could. A change born not of fear or threat, but of understanding, regret, and the desire to protect the love they had built before it crumbled entirely. The experience left her exhausted but resolute, knowing that the journey ahead would be painful, uncertain, and full of tests, yet believing that even in heartbreak, love could teach lessons that neither time nor distance could erase. Emma decided to give Alex a chance, not out of weakness or denial, but because she still believed that love could survive if honesty and effort were real. She confronted him one evening, sitting across from him at their small dining table, the dim light casting shadows over his face as she spoke openly about the pain she had felt, the heartbreak that lingered every time she remembered what she had seen. Alex listened in silence at first, his hands fidgeting, eyes downcast, and for the first time, Emma saw genuine regret in his expression, a deep awareness that he had caused harm that could not be easily undone. He admitted his mistakes fully, acknowledging the flirtations, the secretive messages, and the careless moments where he had failed to protect their bond. His words were heavy with remorse, and though Emma's heart still throbbed with hurt, she could sense the beginning of change, the first stirrings of a man willing to confront his flaws rather than hide from them. Over the following weeks, Alex made deliberate efforts to show Emma that he understood the consequences of his actions. He stopped staying late at work without reason, communicated openly about his day, and no longer hid his phone or avoided her questions. He began small gestures that spoke volumes, leaving little notes of apology, remembering her favorite flowers, and taking time to plan simple moments of connection, like walks in the park or cooking dinner together, with care and attention. Emma watched him closely, sometimes skeptically, sometimes with hope, noticing the subtle shifts in his behavior that reflected a sincere effort to rebuild trust. The process was far from easy. There were moments when old doubts resurfaced, when Emma felt a pang of jealousy or fear that he might slip again. But Alex met those moments with patience, transparency, and heartfelt acknowledgement of her feelings, never dismissing the hurt he had caused. He shared his own reflections, admitting that he had taken her love for granted, and that witnessing the depth of her pain had been a painful wake-up call he could never ignore. Emma realized that love required not just passion, but consistency, accountability, and humility. And she allowed herself to slowly open her heart again, carefully weighing each action, each word, each effort. Nights were spent in long conversations, sometimes silent, sometimes filled with tears, as they untangled the emotions that had accumulated between them, confronting not only Alex's mistakes, but also the vulnerabilities in Emma's heart that had made her feel uncertain. Through this intense period of reflection and honesty, Alex began to transform. He became more attentive, not in a performative way, but in a manner that reflected a genuine desire to learn, grow, and repair the bond he had fractured. Emma saw the sincerity in his eyes, the quiet determination to be better, and she felt a fragile hope blossom inside her. She understood that this journey was not about erasing the past, but about acknowledging it fully, learning from it, and creating a foundation where mistakes could be confronted openly rather than hidden or repeated. Slowly, their home regained a sense of warmth and safety, though it was now layered with lessons learned, a cautious trust that had to be nurtured day by day. Emma's heart, once raw with hurt, began to heal in the presence of Alex's genuine remorse and unwavering effort. She realized that forgiveness was not a single act, but a continuous choice, and that love, when tested by pain, could emerge stronger if met with accountability, honesty, and care. They started sharing small joys again, the comfort of morning coffee together, quiet walks where laughter returned naturally, and evenings where they could talk without fear or suspicion. Each step forward was accompanied by reflection, as Emma and Alex discussed what had led them to this point and how to prevent similar mistakes in the future, understanding that true growth came from facing discomfort rather than avoiding it. Over time, Emma noticed that Alex no longer took the ease of their bond for granted. He was present in a way he hadn't been before, attuned to her needs, feelings, and the subtle cues that had once gone unnoticed. She could sense that he had internalized the lesson of heartbreak, that witnessing her pain had truly changed him, not out of fear of losing her, but out of a sincere desire to become a partner worthy of her trust and love. Their conversations deepened, touching on dreams, fears, and aspirations, and in those moments, Emma felt the slow rebuilding of intimacy that had been fractured by betrayal. They laughed, sometimes nervously, sometimes freely, rediscovering the lightness of their early days while carrying the weight of lessons learned. Emma knew the journey was ongoing. Trust, once broken, could never be assumed, but had to be continually nurtured. Yet she also knew that she had chosen wisely to see whether change was possible, to witness not just the hurt, but the transformation that could arise from it. Each day became a testament to growth. Alex's consistent transparency, his readiness to discuss uncomfortable truths, and his commitment to showing love through actions rather than words alone. Emma felt a cautious optimism, a gentle rebuilding of faith in their shared future. She realized that the pain she endured, the heartbreak she had faced in witnessing his mistakes, had not destroyed their love. It had refined it, deepened it, and set the stage for a connection built on sincerity, awareness, and mutual respect. In the quiet moments, when Alex's hand found hers and held it with care, Emma could feel the shift. The man before her was not perfect, but he was changed, molded by remorse and love, striving to be the partner she deserved. And in that, she found hope, understanding that the lesson of betrayal was not just a story of heartbreak, but a story of growth, accountability, and the possibility that love, when tested, could emerge wiser, stronger, and more resilient than before. Months had passed since the painful days of doubt and heartbreak, and Emma and Alex had slowly begun to rebuild the fragile trust that had once seemed irreparably broken. The transformation in Alex was clear. He was no longer careless or secretive, and every action he took reflected the lessons he had painfully learned. He made a conscious effort to communicate openly, to include Emma in his life in ways that showed he valued transparency and honesty, and to demonstrate through consistent behavior that their relationship was his priority. Emma, too, had grown stronger, learning to balance her love with discernment, understanding that forgiveness did not mean forgetting, but choosing to hope and rebuild with care. One crisp afternoon, they found themselves walking through the park where they had first met, the same paths that had once seemed ordinary now carrying memories, both bitter and sweet. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a golden glow over everything, and Emma felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in months, a quiet assurance that the lessons of the past had shaped a deeper bond between them. They spoke little at first, content to simply be together, holding hands, and letting the rhythm of their steps match the renewed rhythm of their hearts. Alex broke the silence with a quiet confession, acknowledging that he could never erase the pain he had caused, but promising that he would never again take Emma or their love for granted. His words were simple but sincere, carrying the weight of lessons learned and the promise of careful attentiveness. Emma squeezed his hand in response, feeling the truth in his tone, the authenticity of his remorse, and the effort he had invested in repairing their love. From that moment, they began to rebuild not just their trust, but a new understanding of love itself, one that was more patient, more forgiving, and more aware of the fragility of hearts. They spent their days creating new memories, cooking together in the evenings, sharing quiet conversations over coffee, and laughing at the little imperfections that had once seemed insignificant, but now felt precious. Their connection was no longer just about passion or excitement. It was grounded in respect, accountability, and a shared commitment to nurture what they had almost lost. Emma noticed subtle gestures from Alex that spoke volumes, a gentle touch when she was anxious, an encouraging word when she doubted herself, and the consistent effort to show up emotionally in ways that felt steady and reassuring. She understood that this change was not temporary, but a transformation born of reflection and genuine desire to grow. The couple also revisited the places that held old memories, confronting the past not with anger, but with awareness, acknowledging how far they had come and what they had learned about love, mistakes, and forgiveness. Each step in this journey reinforced the idea that love required constant effort, communication, and humility, and that the pain of witnessing betrayal could, if faced with courage, lead to deeper understanding and stronger commitment. Emma found herself able to trust again, cautiously at first, but gradually with more confidence, as she observed Alex's consistent dedication to their relationship. She realized that the lessons of heartbreak had not only changed him, but had also strengthened her own heart, teaching her resilience, patience, and the importance of honest dialogue. Nights were once again filled with quiet closeness, sometimes conversations, sometimes comfortable silence, and always a feeling of being seen and valued. Emma felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey they had endured, the difficult moments that had forced them to confront truths, the emotional turbulence that had tested their love, and the eventual realization that growth often emerges from the pain we resist most. Alex's transformation was evident not only in his actions but in the way he spoke about their future, planning together with care, considering her feelings and decisions, and demonstrating an awareness of the fragility and preciousness of trust. Emma understood that their love was now richer, deeper, and more mature, shaped by the lessons they had learned and the commitment they had chosen to uphold. In these months, she discovered that healing was not instantaneous but gradual, nurtured by sincerity, effort, and patience, and that the scars of betrayal could be transformed into reminders of resilience and renewed devotion. Walking hand in hand through the park, watching children play, the sun setting behind them, Emma felt a quiet joy, a sense that despite the hurt, the heartbreak, and the moments of doubt, they had arrived at a love that was not naive but informed, not fragile but enduring, and not taken for granted but cherished. She understood that Alex's journey, his willingness to confront his mistakes and change, had allowed their relationship to blossom in ways that would have been impossible without the pain they had endured. And as they paused by the fountain, watching the gentle ripples on the water, Emma realized that love, once tested, could become more resilient, more compassionate, and more fulfilling, that the lessons of heartbreak had led not to despair, but to growth, and that together they had built a connection capable of weathering challenges rooted in awareness, accountability, and the enduring promise to honor each other's hearts. In that quiet moment, Emma felt the full circle of their story, the hurt, the lesson, the transformation, and the renewed bond, and knew that while the past could never be erased, it had guided them toward a love stronger, wiser, and more genuine than they had ever imagined.